All right, welcome everybody, and thank you for tuning in today to the Adam Messer Show. I'm your host, Adam Messer, and here today with me is my special guest, Kewaan Drayton. Welcome back, Kewaan. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ah, I got you now. I had a button pressed on the the soundboard. So yeah, welcome back, and Sebastian, do you mind playing a little bit for us here on the top of the hour? This is Sebastian Messer, everybody. Awesome, thank you, Sebastian. That was really good. Thank you. So, Kewaan, the end of the last hour, we were talking. I think it's a really interesting topic. Okay, Bess. Um, we were getting into like getting paid and talking about like gosh, all kinds of stuff about the business side of entertainment.
hmm
Um, can you give like just a little recap of your feelings about it?
yeah. So pretty much in any realm of art, whether it's music, filmmaking, graphic design, any of that, make sure you set yourself up in a way to feel comfortable making money off of the art that you feel comfortable making. That's pretty much what it
Mm,
ultimately boils down to. Just if you have a passion for it, figure out how to turn your passion into payment.
yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it too. Being able to make a career from your art, and today obviously we're talking about the Savannah Underground, which is what you and your brother founded, and it's a here in Savannah, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
it's an immersive theatrical horror experience of production. Um, and so, for those of you who don't know, so would you give like a little overview of the Savannah Underground to folks who might not be familiar with it or who haven't read the articles? I know you had a couple different articles out too.
Yeah, so pretty much the Savannah Underground is basically an immersive experience that's focused on, different historical stories, horror stories that have taken place in Savannah. And the goal is to bring the experience to tourists and locals alike without doing it through, just a traditional, you know, show you a house, tell you a story. We literally have created a place where you can come and experience these stories in a different way, rather than it just being a traditional theatrical performance, or it just being just like a ghost tour or whatever you want to call it. It's just a completely different experience that we in Savannah haven't seen before. We've heard of different things taking place here in Savannah, but it's not here anymore. And I'm more interested in figuring out why something like that isn't successful in Savannah, or what it takes to make it stick. And that's where I am in the process of it all right now.
I noticed that there's like a lot of different little microchasms here in Savannah. You just hit on something that I think is important. There are things that are very successful in other cities that just seem like they come and they go here in Savannah, or
Yeah,
there there's a small market or just a small not big enough community to support it. And I kind of it's kind of crazy, but when you're doing these things or you're out and about, if especially if you do any kind of events or anything like that, you see the same 100 faces. I say in Savannah, like
exactly.
you see the same folks, and I mean, like I'm not originally from Savannah, so you being from Savannah, you probably have seen it a lot more. I moved down here in '96, and so when it's crazy because you do have like the whole thing about like people from Savannah or the surrounding areas or whatever. You get folks that come to Savannah, like me, the transients and move here, and we stay here. You get tourists, you have military, you have a lot of clergy in Savannah. Um, you get a huge mix of different people from social, economic, and eh, different backgrounds, where they're from, and what they do, and that comes with different things too. Like for example, with theater, you know, there are a lot of places where theater's really big, and people go and they see live theater and that kind of thing, like Broadway theater, for example.
Hmm.
Um, but in Savannah, there's been different things that that they've done, and it always seems like different things stick, and sometimes things don't stick. Or things like this last year, for example, my daughter, both my daughters, they did ballet since they were little. This last year, their instructor had to close the studio because of the pandemic, right? And she'd had the
Hmm.
studio, I think, for like 6 or 7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of the things I feel like in Savannah, that I don't know how to say it, but there is support for the arts and culture and things like that. But it's almost like that, like with yours, you have a small production, theater company, right? And you're doing this
Yeah.
thing. It's just basically a couple of people. It's not a big, large corporation. You're doing this, and you
Hmm.
have actors from the area, and it's not like you're flying people in to do these parts. You know what I mean? It's a small production company.
Hmm.
I feel like you get so much more out of that. Like when somebody goes to see the folks that, hey, we're doing this because we love it, and this is what we want to do, right?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed with Savannah, and supporting the arts, is that you have like the folks that are like well to do, right? And they have a whole social circle, and then you have folks that, like, well, I mean, like Savannah, they, you have $1 million homes, and then like a block over, you have people that are living in the park, that are
Exactly.
homeless.
Yeah.
And so I've always felt like that was the same thing with the arts community. Like you have like kind of like the have and have nots. You have like
Hmm.
the same thing where wealthy uh, wealthy arts are
Yeah.
supported,
No.
and then indie arts are not. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's exactly how it is, and it's more apparent in Savannah when when you start actually trying to grow and run a company or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like with the big productions that come to town, I think Savannah has a great potential to be one of those filmmaking hubs.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than Atlanta, bigger than or able to compete with the filmmaking markets. But most people just come to Savannah, use it as a backdrop, and then they leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's up to the people like us to, stay grounded in Savannah, and doesn't matter how long it takes you to grow, just literally just sitting here and, building an opportunity for yourself. Because when it does become one of those, big film areas or art areas, it'll be in your benefit to already be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I think another thing too is, I know sounds really crazy, but and I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to just out in general, right?
Hmm.
If your friends are making art, support them in whatever way you can. I'm not like, I don't ever want somebody to buy my book if that's not what they want to read, or buy my art or anything like that.
Exactly.
I don't want that. I don't want that. But
Hmm.
maybe somebody that would be interested.
Hmm.
Um, and I saw, this is a video. This has been going around, but this made so much sense. But it said that folks will buy a $3 water from a stranger because you wouldn't sell them a $1 bottle for 50 cents,
Exactly.
and they would rather pay that $3 to somebody. And I don't know why, but I have found more support from, I have people that are supportive of my art, but I found more support from strangers than I do from folks that I would think that would, like the folks that have said, hey, I really like your stuff, but then when I say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this thing, or I'm working on this other thing, and they're like, cricket, cricket, crickets. I'm like,
Yeah.
where did you go? You said the last time, let you know when I'm working on something. And I
Yeah,
think,
man, that happens a lot.
yeah, I think that's something, especially like, and I don't want to sound funny here, and I am definitely not trying to talk about have and have nots with
Hmm.
Savannah, but there is a huge, it goes back to money. If you have money, and you're able to, put a ton of money into some kind of production or event or whatever, and people want to be associated with that, it seems like it's more successful in Savannah. If you're
Yeah.
if you're doing something like, you're from Savannah, you're a hometown, guy, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's like, where's the clout? I mean, like, here you and your brother are trying to make something here in Savannah, and like you've been getting a good reception, you
Yeah.
know, but where are the folks at? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, you get that a lot, man. And like I said, that's one of the hardest parts about it is, trying to find the people who are willing to support you and the people who are willing to buy a ticket and all those different things. But like I
Well,
said,
that's
it comes with.
well,
Hmm?
just to add on to that. It's, again, I'm not asking people to buy my stuff if that's not what they like, right?
Yeah. Just
I'm
yeah.
not asking that. No, no, I don't think any artist wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody
No,
wants a
it's not.
pity. Nobody wants pity. No, nobody. It's just like, hey, and that's the business side of it, because you have to look at, like, okay, well, is this product or whatever, is this, who's my audience, right?
Yeah.
Who are the folks that want to do this, and like you said, I don't feel like I don't feel like what you're doing with the production company is competitive to the tourist groups out there. I don't feel like it's competitive at all. I feel like it's complementary, because it
Hmm.
is something different than, let's say, a walking tour, or like a guided tour
Travel
or
tour. Yeah.
whatever. You're giving a different kind of experience. So it's the closest thing that people can relate to it is, it's a tour, but it's not really a tour. You know, it's a
Yeah.
theater. It's more of a production. So
Hmm. And yeah, and like you were saying, man, like with people supporting. I know we talk about if people don't like it or if it's not what they want, then don't buy. But there's a bunch of other different ways you can support somebody that's not monetary.
yeah,
There we live in an age of social media where you can share that information to people you know who are on your social media. People who those are the ways of supporting that are a lot better than buying.
yeah.
Because they help you reach their people, and we all have these different forms of social media and we all don't have friends that like the same things we like. We have friends that cross all different socioeconomic backgrounds and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So it's just sharing information. There's a bunch of different ways to support that fall with outside the means of monetary.
I
But
completely agree. We've got to do the station ID real quick. Everybody, you're tuning in today to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. I mean, for example, this radio show today is a way that I'm trying to support you, what you're doing. You know what I mean?
yes,
And, it didn't cost us, it didn't cost you any money. It didn't cost me any money. It's just our time, right?
exactly.
And I feel like that's a way, like, you don't, folks don't, you don't have to. It does. It sometimes, like, honestly, sometimes money makes the world go round. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes money is not. You can't just throw money at something and say, "Hey, this is gonna work." It doesn't work like that. It's like, hey, how do you get the word out there? I mean, I'm just a little old radio show right here. Got a small audience.
Yes,
It's gonna go out on the internet or whatever. But that's a way I feel like we as a community can help each other out. Like, hey, you got this thing, you're starting it up, you're doing whatever, you know, let's just get the word out there, right? Uh,
exactly, man.
and it's not like it's, I mean, it's not like it's, ultra time consuming. It doesn't, and you don't have to do it for. I mean, like, I enjoyed talking with you. That's why I wanted, to continue saying, hey, let's do this or do that, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and like I said, man, we appreciate that because not a lot of people, extend the offer to, want to help you get your information out there. So whenever we do have the opportunity, we're definitely appreciative. Especially with you. You've not only been helping us through the radio show, but like you said, with the story. And with Connect Savannah, you've been going out of your way to find different ways to help us get more attention. And those are the biggest ways of supporting, man. And we appreciate that.
Yeah, and that my I guess my point is not, I'm not trying to get like a little pat on the back or anything like that, and I appreciate that from you. It's just more of, these are like we're talking about, like ways you can support the arts, right? And ways that you can support small businesses and stuff like that, and that's, like, this is living proof. This is like what we're doing right now. It's like, hey man, you wanna come and talk to the people about this, and I know we've been talking a lot about the business side of things, but I love the business side of stuff. And I think people don't understand sometimes. It's like, oh, hey, these are the nuts and bolts that go into putting on a production. Like, you got to think about, like, okay, well, how many seats are we filling tonight? you know?
Exactly, man. And like you said, I love talking. I love talking about both of them. Like, I love the business side just as much as I love the artistic side.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that there is a form of creativity inside the business of it all too, because you have to figure out how you're gonna make all of these happen. Because eventually, ultimately, all art, roots back down to just being an idea.
Yeah. Well,
And you
look at
make a
the
lot of
film
sacrifices.
industry this last year, right? Look at the film industry this last year. They couldn't open at theaters, so what do? They partnered up with, online distribution, right? And when you think about that, and you think about, like, okay, well, they had to innovate ways to reach their audience. They weren't just gonna say, hey, we're not gonna do it anymore. Yeah, they probably didn't. They probably didn't have as many tickets sold or movies sold, but I guarantee you they had a whole lot more people subscribing to these online services.
Nah, definitely. And like I said, man, it's all about getting creative, man. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about it the most. Is the virus and stuff. It tested me. It helped challenge me figure out, okay, you can't gather with your actors anymore. You can't go on sets to help different companies produce this film or that film. So what do you do now? Like, how are you going to make your money now? Because you
Right.
just can't. Some people will just give up. A lot of places shut down and stuff like that. But that's what artistic side comes in business. You have to get creative and figure out how you can still make something happen, even though you have these huge limitations placed against you. And that's the fun part for me. Is I love finding new ways to do things, because I know that most people are going to choose the easiest way. But for me, I like to think outside of the box and figure out, okay, what can I be working on now to plant some seeds for a bigger future, not only for myself but for my entire team, and help other people.
That's the thing, Kewaan. I can't remember where I heard this, and I didn't make it up myself, but there's no traffic on that extra mile.
Exactly.
And so,
That is so true.
I think when you're putting it out there, and you're trying to, and I love that you focused a lot on the business side of it. I mean, because yes, artistically, you have to have a product. You have to have a product. You have to have a good product, right? Because if you don't, then, I mean, the market's gonna, the market's gonna be the market. The market's gonna bring stuff to the top that clears it out and does well. I get that. But at the same time, you also have to. You can't give away the farm. When you were talking about earlier, last hour, about making sure that you help artistic people understand, hey, you should get compensated for your time or your your product or whatever. And I think that's so important, man. It's not just art. We are, like we were talking about earlier, we're surrounded by art. We see art. There's design and everything that we have, that we use as people, and we consume art all the time. I mean, like, if you look at any, like, even if you don't think that there's art, you know, even if you think that there's no art in whatever you're doing, let's just say somebody's constructing a new building for you, right? You can tell the difference between a person who is capable of what they're doing and a person who just knows how to get it done, right? It's like, it's like a fine meal. You can tell when somebody is like a really good chef, or when they're just like, hey, we're just going to get it out. We're just going to get this order out. It's the same thing with anything you do, any kind of anything at all, production, whatever. You don't have to, they don't have to tell you, you can feel it.
Exactly. That's so true, man. Yeah, but like I said, man, this whole I love being able to have this conversation with different people because I don't get to talk about it a lot with people on my team just because I'm just so used to doing it and
Right.
representing on their behalf, and they honestly just trust me to make the right business decisions for the overall company, the production, and all those different things. And I'm okay with that responsibility, but it's like I'm more focused on helping them, understand it from a different perspective. So that way, when they're done with this production or they move on to a bigger career or a bigger job, that they are comfortable, being able to represent themselves.
Man, I tell you what, you just made me think about something. I was, I've been watching a lot of videos lately. Thank you, Bill. How you doing? Bill Cooper just walked in. Everybody, he's like saying, "What's up?"
Hey,
Actually, Kewaan Drayton is on the phone with me.
you're kidding.
Yeah, no, it was so funny because when he was here, Bill, when y'all had him on a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
we'd already done the interview for the Connect Savannah, which was in I think last week or the week before's, and we'd already scheduled to do the radio show for this weekend. And so when he showed up, it was just a nice little surprise.
Yeah, how you been?
I'm pretty good, man. How are you?
Probably talking. I wouldn't know.
Huh?
I have my earphones on.
Oh yeah, this set of earphones is working. You can use those. That's Mike too.
Yeah, tell him I said, hey, how's he?
He's getting ready to pop on.
Okay.
You can hear him now, Bill.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, how you doing, Bill?
Good. Hi, Kewaan. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Glad to be on this show, man. We've been having a very interesting conversation about the business side of art.
I'm sure. Yeah, I listened a little bit of it on the way in here,
Yes,
and because I'm old enough to listen to a car radio too.
Yeah. I tell you,
It's been
yeah.
awesome.
That Bill you had a long career at the post office, right?
Yeah, 3 decades.
Yeah, so you were a business manager. You know what it's like to deal with,
I have 50 people under me,
Yeah.
and it worked
Yeah.
best when I delegated as much of my job as I could. I was happy. They were happy.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Yep,
my job was to make sure they did their job, right?
Hey,
so
that's-
who's the experts? You ask about that. The ones that do it.
Yeah.
All I said
Exactly.
was, "What do you need? I'll try to get it for you." Okay, thanks for telling me. And that it
Hey.
works so much better than fighting with them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Exactly.
think when you take
That's-
care of your people,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Mhm.
That old teacher saying is they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
You get so many sayings, and I haven't written any of them down, Adam. But
That's
I
not my
that-
saying.
I know, but you use them.
When they're appropriate. I was just thinking, we were talking about like this last year's been crazy. I was just thinking, Bill, it's been like over a year since you did that last comedy show.
Yeah.
And we were talking about innovation, and Kewaan, he had the same kind of thing where like his business had an interruption from all this stuff.
Sure.
And he had to innovate, and that's where this show came from. Well, and this is something, Kewaan, you probably I'm not aware of, but Bill has a weekly comedy show because he was doing stand-up comedy, and he's got a weekly comedy show it's kind of like a skit comedy type thing where, well, it's kind of like a talk show comedy with a little skit humor, and but it's
totally
called
off the cuff.
Yeah.
We do not rehearse. It's
Postcards from Lowell.
20 minutes. I start off with a little 5-minute story, a true story about something I did from between the age of 2 and 10 usually.
And
I remember, I have an excellent memory for that. Don't ask me what I had for breakfast today, but as they say, but I do have an excellent
was
memory.
oatmeal.
And I start off with a story, and it might seem absurd. And of course, when I was 4 years old, it was 1948. So that was just saying, I go back a long way, and I got interesting things. So then we go from that to my buddy Chad, who's on helps me on the show here. Then he comes in, and we try to get him a date, and that's pretty much the theme of most of them. They'll have people call in trying to date him, and then he comes back the next week and reports on the horror show it was on the date.
You had what was that lady's name that was on?
Jeannie Brazil.
Yeah, she was a guest.
And Kathy,
Yeah.
and Kathy Harrington.
Yeah, and so like it's not scripted, but you have a similar format each week.
A
from week to
format,
week,
right?
yeah.
But and then it's totally off the cuff. Whatever
Yeah.
he says, whatever I say, it happens at that spot, and that's, we've both had improv training, and that's a big help. It really is.
Yeah, we were talking about like innovating and having to change and adapt to everything, and that show probably wouldn't have happened if you were still able to do stand up.
It wouldn't have, because the reason I did it was after a few months of people locked down, and all I'm seeing on Facebook is how unhappy they were, and you know, and when will this last, and how long will it last? Well, it doesn't matter. You're in that moment, and I just decided to put something on to give them a smile. You know, once a week, 20 minutes. It's always fun, and we keep it upbeat. We never get into politics or anything heavy, but we keep it upbeat, and I'm saying that was my goal, and it's lasted. April 1st, we started it last year, so it's lasted almost a year now, every single week.
Wow. That's like you, Kewaan. Y'all started the Savannah Underground because it was like, you're like what you said earlier is like, well, what am I going to do now? I can't do the business I've been doing. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, there wasn't you know, when we were thinking about it, it wasn't the perfect time. And, you know, when we were forced to, you know, basically put everything on pause, our full operation, we were just like, okay, so there's no better times to like start figuring out how we're going to bring this to life other than now.
And again, I tip my hat to you. Even attempting it at this time takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage, and you guys are just, you know, and you're getting the attention you deserve. And I just want to tell you that Marianne and I booked. We will be in there.
Nice.
All right, man. You got to take that drink now.
Oh, I know. Oh, no, that's only during my show.
Yeah. See, that's another.
In another hour, if I say it, yeah, everyone has to take a drink.
That was cool, though, Kewaan. You really did the drink up to Marianne.
But we're looking forward to it, and I know it's going to be something special. Just, you know, talking to you guys, and I've read about it in both papers, in Do and Connect. It was nice articles they gave you.
Which one did you like better?
Huh?
Yeah,
I'm kidding. Which one do you want me to say? Hold your hand up.
Whichever one you read. Hey, no, but Kewaan, Bill was one of the primary actors in our movie that I was telling you about, my friend and I made, called The Devil's Due. It was actually a premise on the book, the anthology, and Bill played the devil that you made. That, you know, like, you know, the old premise of, you know, there's never a good deal with the devil. Like, the devil's always you're never gonna win when you make a deal with the devil, right?
Of course. Yeah.
That was the premise of this book. And Bill, what was that one line? Can you say that one line that you like so much?
That's all mumbo jumbo. You know, that's legal mumbo jumbo. That's for my protection than yours.
Yeah, the metaphysical legal mumbo jumbo.
Okay.
But yeah, Bill was like, that was. We did that like last August, right?
Yeah, sometime in the summer, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first production that Josh and I put together. And it was like a little 4-minute, you know, short film, and I felt like it was great. You know, Josh wrote it.
It was, again, the length of a film has nothing to do with you. They have 1-minute films that are outstanding.
Oh yeah.
And that's not the point. The length, because I've been in enough SCAD films to know that it doesn't have to be long to be good.
Look at commercials. I mean, like, look at a commercial.
Oh yeah, now they're becoming more like films, short films than commercials. Yeah. Right. But I mean, it was. I looked at it, I read it, I said, I want to do this. This is cool, and so we did it, and it really came out good.
I agree. I feel like we were actually talking about. There was that one scene where, I was like, "Hey, can you do this a little bit less, not aggressive and not confrontational, but a little more assertive?" And then Brent did the scene. Remember, and it was like he just nailed it.
Yeah,
we're talking about how you work with, you know, the actors and the directors, and
that's good directing, though, and that's what you did.
Well, we were just talking about, like, it's a symbiotic thing. You know, you're working together, and, you know, like
when everyone's working for the same goal, what a difference. Now, you know, Kewaan, you know that from who you have to work with to get this off the ground. Mm-hmm. Savannah Underground, off the ground. You know that. It's who you're working with. They have to have that desire and push and, you know, beyond the, as you said, the extra mile, and there's no traffic on it.
Of course.
But
yes, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, you know that. And this was the same thing. It was just a short production, but everyone involved in it made it work. And I'll tell you one thing, Adam, that was one of the quickest I've ever done any short film shoot. I mean, you had it down. You did it outside with Melanie. You did it inside with me, and then you did a short one outside with me for it. I couldn't believe how quickly you guys did it. I mean, you were on the same page.
I'll tell you a little secret. First of all, I got to give all that props to Josh because he did all the principal photography, right? Mm-hmm. I was just kind of like assisting with the directing and stuff like that. But Josh and I have done those, you know, like the Savannah Quill,
right?
You know, like the events and stuff. Josh knows how I like to operate, and so I know how he works, and we work really well together.
You wouldn't be working with them that many times if you didn't.
Right, and we're
it's important. It really is. Chemistry is important.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things. And Kewaan, get this now. This is going to sound crazy. I know that we're turning this into the Bill Cooper show, but Bill wrote a story that Josh and I are going to be producing. And yeah, we're working on that sometime this year. We're going to get that done. And but we've got another story. We got another short that we're doing. See, Kewaan's got these, they've got the Savannah Underground, and they're looking at, like, right now they're in the one location, but they're looking, ahead how they're going to base this launch,
and then maybe put it on for one night or a couple of nights somewhere else.
Well, they're looking at, like, the future of, like, how they can expand and what they're doing.
Okay, great.
And so, and that's the thing too, is like when you have a good story and you got a good production, like they do,
yeah, you're
able to take that and build from it.
And they're in the right city for it. People love that. The tourists come, they love that, the ghost of what actually happened. You just took stories that actually happened, and there's a history. People love history.
Oh yeah,
and they come here. That's part of the reason they come here. So you're really in the right place, and I think you're going to do great.
I do too.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, man.
I do too. Well, we got to take a station break, and then we'll be back for more. So everybody, stay tuned. Here's the announcements for the station.
Yes, it is that time again to support WRUU through your vote in the Connect Savannah Best of Savannah poll. It's easy. Go to Connect Savannah at www.connectsavannah.com and click on the Go Vote image. Read the instructions and then scroll down and click on the image labeled Media. Type in WRUU in both the Best Local Radio Station and Best Talk Radio Station categories and click the Vote button for each. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU in the Connect Savannah Best of Savannah poll.
It's 60, is it?
This portion of WRUU Savannah Soundings programming is provided by listeners and by Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day Natural Foods has been serving Savannah's healthy food and supplement needs since 1978. It is located at the corner of Bull Street and Park Avenue. They have available online ordering and curbside delivery, and now a walk-up window for smoothies, juices, and sandwiches from the deli. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 12 to 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. More information can be found at brighterdayfoods.com. From our cobblestone streets to our stately homes, discover Savannah's maritime history and what makes Savannah, Savannah. One of the hidden secrets of Savannah is the Gardens of the Ships of the Sea Museum. Picnic here and enjoy our complimentary Wi-Fi. More information can be found at shipsofthesea.org.
And I'll give my age. But she is 4 weeks older than me. But I didn't tell her age. I just gave him a clue.
I have this weird thing in my head that for some reason or another, I always think people are the same age as when I first met them.
Yeah, we don't advance them. You're right.
This portion of WRUU Savannah Soundings programming is provided by listeners and by Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day Natural Foods has been serving Savannah's healthy food and supplement needs since 1978. It is located at the corner of Bull Street and Park Avenue. They have available online ordering and curbside delivery, and now a walk-up window for smoothies, juices, and sandwiches from the deli. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 12 to 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. More information can be found at brighterdayfoods.com. From our cobblestone streets to our stately homes, discover Savannah's maritime history and what makes Savannah, Savannah. One of the hidden secrets of Savannah is the Gardens of the Ships of the Sea Museum. Picnic here and enjoy our complimentary Wi-Fi. More information can be found at shipsofthesea.org.
I don't mind to bring them in. I mean, what the heck? I know you. Even if you bring it home and drink it, I don't care.
From our cobblestone streets to our stately homes, discover Savannah's maritime history and what makes Savannah, Savannah. One of the hidden secrets of Savannah is the Gardens of the Ships of the Sea Museum. Picnic here and enjoy our complimentary Wi-Fi. More information can be found at shipsofthesea.org.
Because they got a grant for it, you know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So if you're interested,
No, I'm not.
probably okay.
Not at all.
Yeah. No.
Not at all.
Well, if you knew somebody that was,
Yeah. All right, we got to go back on now.
I'll see you in a few.
All right. Hello. Everybody, we're back. You there, Kewaan?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So anyway, yeah, we were back. I don't know why that kept cutting off. I kept having to hit the play button on it, but anyway, so we were talking. We've been talking about the business side of things or whatever, and Bill Cooper popped in for a minute. His show is like right after mine, so I always enjoy when he comes in. Sometimes I can do that. Sometimes I can't. Just depends on the guests I have. You know, especially you being from Savannah, and you already knew Bill. I thought it was cool. But yeah, I think it's one of those things, man. You know, with any kind of production or any kind of thing that you're doing, it's just a lot of work, and you gotta. I mean, I always joke around with my friends that writing and publishing books for me is like the most amount of work for the least amount of pay that I've done, right? And it's not like we're making tons of money off of the art and whatever, but at the same time, it has to be sustainable.
Yes, it does.
You can't just do it just to do it as a hobby, And I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing a hobby. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say don't do your art if you're not making money. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, if you're selling your wares or if you're selling your art or you're selling whatever, get paid for it, right? And, and don't let people, barter you down and, exposure out of the. I've never seen exposure bucks pay anybody,
Exactly.
I mean, the right kind of exposure, yeah, okay. Like the 1 in a million Justin Bieber type, somebody saw him on YouTube and they're like, oh my gosh, that did happen. Okay, that's great, but how many people does that happen for?
Exactly.
No,
and it's like if you take your art serious too, it's like you have to take yourself serious as well, in the sense that, like, if you want people to actually pay you for your stuff, then you have to have your marketing down to creating a website, taking your own self serious first, because I feel like that's the first step before anybody else will take you serious.
And being professional.
Yes.
I feel like that's one of the things that you bring to the table for your production company is that you're very professional with what you're doing, and that's a pleasure, man. It's actually really refreshing too, because there are a lot of people out there who are not professional with what they do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like I said, it's not just me. I represent a bigger company, and we have a team of people who, we want to hold ourselves a certain way and do business a certain type of way, so that people will take us serious. Because if we don't provide that up front, then nobody else is going to, take us serious.
I'll give you a good example of that, Kewaan. Like the first time we talked, it was even before I had pitched the story. Just talking with you, I had sent a message through Facebook saying, hey, I saw this thing. I'd like to, contact you or whatever. And we just had a little conversation. We talked for a few minutes and then, whatever. And then something came up where I couldn't do the thing at the same time. And you were really flexible with me about, changing it up. And, that was great. I really appreciated that, because, some people are just, they're not understanding, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was like, I could tell that you were professional from that. Yeah. Just that experience. I was like, this guy's flexible. And communication, when you're talking about communication earlier, that to me is so important, because that is a critical skill. I feel like everybody, I mean, I'm always trying to work on my my communication skills, and there's areas where I know I can get better at it, but I feel like, especially with art, and you're trying to convey a message, you're trying to, like with your show, you're trying to tell people, like, hey, this you don't want to sound desperate. You don't want to, be needy or anything like that. People don't like that. But at the same time, you're like, well, hey, this is what we're doing. This is our kind of show. This is this is something you would like. Come check it out.
Yes.
And I was listening to Matthew McConaughey's book called Green Lights, and it's like an autobiography about his journey through being a movie star actor and stuff like that. And he was talking about when I think he did his first movie, and then he thought he was going to be like big time, from that one movie or whatever. And he got an agent or whatever out in Hollywood, and so he shows up one day in this agent's house, and I'm just paraphrasing the story here, but he shows up one day. He's like, "Well, so when are we gonna start doing, these calls or whatever?" And the guy's like, "Get out of here!" He's like, "When you don't need it, come back or whatever." And basically, the guy was saying like, he was too desperate, and like he was just too like Hollywood, the way I think, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but I'm just trying to paraphrase here. But he was saying like when you want it, but you don't need it. Yeah. Right? It's like I want people to listen to the show, and I want people to read my book. I want people to do these things, but like I don't want the wrong folks doing it, because if it's not the stuff that they like, it'd be like me trying to serve a steak dinner to somebody who is allergic to red meat.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's a strong mix with, like, we've been talking a lot about business, but I feel like that's a strong mix with art and business, because, there are people out there who want to give the farm away, and they might not focus on the business side of it. So that's why there are managers out there, right?
Exactly.
But at what cost, right? So it's like, if you've got somebody like yourself who is, they've got somebody's best interest at heart, that's great. But all too often you see a lot of people, and you hear about these horror stories about the music industry, or acting and, different things like that, where the manager took advantage of, the talent, And so I think it is smart for, everybody to have at least some understanding about, things.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, it's what I enjoy. So as long as I'm doing that, man, I am not working. I think I'm in a perfect position to, be able to, and I'm just honestly just blessed to be in a position to, help myself, help other people as well, and be able to mix the business with the art. I'm always surrounded by it, and this is always a great refreshing feeling. And I love when people, I love that people trust me with, with making decisions for them, and they know that I'll treat them well. Yeah. And that's what I love about it, man.
Well, like when we were just talking with Bill a little earlier, the idea behind him managing his group of 50 people, he's like, well, what do you need? What can I do for you? How can I serve you?
Yeah.
And that servant leadership to me is the most important leadership. It's like, hey, what can I do for you to make your job easier? I feel like that's rule number one. It's like, you serve others, even with like production company, for example, with your theater, you're serving your audience. You're trying to say, hey, this is what we've got. This is how we're different,
Exactly.
These are the things that we're doing,
Yep. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But like that's one thing I just love about it all. Just being able to provide new experiences and serve people, not just the audience, but also, the people that are helping us actually bring it to life. Because, you get a lot of people who take for granted the people that are helping them, bring it to life. Just like us, with our actors and stuff. We do pay our actors, but, in this early stage of our production, we're not able to pay them the full amount of what they're worth, but just them knowing that, we care enough about them to support them and compensate them for their art, that allows them they feel very comfortable working with us, because they know that even though we aren't, in a position to pay them as much, we can still give them something.
Yeah. It's just like kind of like we were talking earlier about, if you can make a $500 logo, and you make a logo for your friend, and you only charge them $5, the payment's more of a, hey, I appreciate you doing this $500 service,
Exactly.
You know, and I know that what you're doing is worth more. This is what I can afford, and I appreciate, you know, you doing that for that, right?
Yeah.
Gotta do the station ID real quick. I can't believe it's already the quarter of the hour. Everybody, you're listening today to the Adam Messer Show. I'm here with my special guest, Kewaan Drayton. We're talking about the business side of things, and we're also talking about their production, the Savannah Underground, which is an immersive, interactive horror experience. And you're listening today to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. So, you know, Kewaan, I feel like that's a good mix when you let people know up front, hey, I know this is what I want to do. This is the budget I have, right? You're going to have people that are going to balk. You're going to have people that are going to just automatically say no. That's fine. You're going to have other people who are also going to see that vision with you and your team and say, hey, yeah, I want to be part of that. And I know that the money is not a lot of money, but it's there. You know, they're going to pay me something, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's, to me, that is so important because that's how you build good relationships with people. You know, that's how you build trust.
Yes. And like with us, you know, it's like, you know, up front, I like one thing about me and, you know, our team is I like to tell people up front what they're getting themselves into because I want to give them a fair opportunity to commit to what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's one thing we do place emphasis on is, like you said, communicating with people, letting them know, you know, like, hey, I have identified that, you know, the work that you're about to put in, I cannot pay you enough for that right now, but this is what I will do. And letting them know that you will compensate them and that you will do it on time. And, you know, sticking to your word, because as long as you can stick to your word and, you know, build a trusting relationship with, you know, with your team, they will continue to go out of their way to make sure that you have a great production.
I agree. Sebastian's going to play another live song for us before the end of the hour. Awesome. Thank you, Sebastian. That was really nice. Yeah, that's something too, Kewaan. You know, like maybe before we go, we got about another 8 minutes. Building that relationship and that trust and, you know, building that team, you know, when you have that vision, it's one of those things like you're putting the risk and you're putting, you know, the upfront investment, right? And then that's a way that they're also putting upfront risk and investment, right? It might not be as much as far as like putting money up, but it is like with their time, right?
Yeah, it's almost just as equivalent as money.
Right. Well, it is. I mean, like what you can get money, but you can't get your time back, right?
Exactly.
And so I feel like that's a good way to have a good relationship with people and to build, you know, the relationship with folks. And to be able to build that foundation, right? So when you do upgrade, you know, you're the way I look at it too, and I don't like nepotism and I don't like cronyism at all. I don't like it one bit. But the folks that were there when I didn't have anything are the folks that I'm going to look to first when I've got something.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not going to be like, oh well. Here are the folks that just showed up, and you know, and there's always going to be good people like that show up too at different times of your life. But there's also going to be people that are like, oh, hey man, you know, I heard y'all doing this production thing. I got this idea, you know, but I can't pay you. But you know, do you want to work for the next 6 months for me? No, I don't.
Exactly.
like not gonna happen. But hey, man, I've got this thing I want you to do, and it's a collaboration, and you know, blah 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 blah. And you're like, well, this is somebody I was with before. We worked together before. We worked really well together before. You know, they took a risk on what I was doing before, so yeah, I'm going to take a risk with them. You know, I mean, that's how good collaborations work, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they build off of each other too, because our whole team has literally just been built off of people who we have trusted and chosen to work with us just
Right.
because they invested in us and we've invested in them. And what you realize is when you set that standard up front, those people start to bring on more people that they trust and that they
They
trust.
like that, yeah.
And then, everybody is being held accountable for the people that they're bringing into the group, because that cuts out the vetting process, because those people know what we expect, we know what they expect, and they bring on people who are going to be able to work within those boundaries to just continue being able to create great work.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so important too, because
Mm-hmm.
none of us are a single solitary person doing it all by ourselves.
No, not at all.
There's always somebody there, that's supporting us or involved in some way. And I mean,
Yes.
I feel like it's
It's
important to give back to people too, man. It's one of those
no,
things.
definitely. Yes. And that's why, like we love doing those, like, like with our team now, like I can't wait to, like, just surprise everybody at the end of the month to just say thank you for helping us make it through March, because
Yeah,
I know a lot of people may think that it's just Red Eye, me and JT, but it's literally us being able to have the force of this team behind us, because without them we'd still be wondering how we're going to get jobs and stuff, uh, just like we were stuck in the middle of the pandemic. But
hmm,
we aren't in that position. We are able to start working towards some form of growth, and it's a very good feeling.
yeah, it is. Especially when you have somebody in your corner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's just a wonderful feeling. When everybody's kind of firing all same. They call it synergy, right? And I just love it when people are um, just kind of hitting on all six cylinders or eight cylinders or whatever you want to call it. Where it's like, hey, we all know that we have a part to do, and we're really good at this one thing, and we're going to
Uh-huh.
contribute, that to this, and then all these parts come together, and then we have this production.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a great. I feel like what you're doing is pretty cool, especially that you're from Savannah. Because I mean, I'm not knocking anybody. I love everybody. Okay, I'm not knocking anybody, but I really like it when I see somebody who's from Savannah. They're trying to do something here in Savannah, like they're not going to Atlanta or somewhere else to try to do their thing there. They're trying to actually do it here in Savannah. So that's one of the things I really appreciate, about what you're doing, you and your brother, and your group,
Yeah.
and your team. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
leave
No,
anybody out.
no, we appreciate it, but we love it though, man. Like, Savannah is a very important place to us, and all we have to do is just we really have made a promise that we want to stick it out here. Like, I know, being born and raised in Savannah, I've seen all of the different things. I remember being young, not having different forms of entertainment, outside of sports and stuff. And, I want to commit myself and my team to, just building new experiences. Like, all of them won't be horror, all of them won't be crime or whatever, but, this is just, us doing something that we see a need for in our city. And a lot of great things are going to be birthed from this one thing.
Yeah, and I really like that you're committed to doing that. I'm hoping that maybe somebody who might be a might be a well-to-do benefactor will also take a liking to it as well and be able to
Mm-hmm.
contribute and say, "Hey,
Yeah, no.
I really like what you're doing."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That'd be cool. But if not, let's just get a bunch of a bunch of folks that are just like regular everyday Joes, and you know,
Exactly. We'll make it happen either way, one way or
right?
another.
Yeah.
One might take longer, but I mean, hey, we've been in it this long, so.
Yeah. And anyway, so we got to wrap it up. We got like about a minute left. Kewaan,
Yes.
thank you so much for being on here with me the last 2 hours. And where's the best place that people can go check out information about the Savannah Underground and get information about tickets as well?
Cool. So yeah, just want to say thank you for having us on the show as well. And also having us last week. We appreciate it. But for more information on the Savannah Underground, you can visit the website at www.thesavannahunderground.com. And also, I highly recommend, if you want to get in touch with me, I am very open to communication on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all those things. You can most likely reach me there.
Can they reach you too about like your consulting services too?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just didn't know like that would be a good way to do it, because I know that there's probably somebody out there that's like, hey, I've got this thing that I want to do, and I'm not really sure how to do it yet, but
Yeah, no, definitely. I can help, and I'm willing to give as much advice as I can. So,
But-
like I said,
but
social
I'm telling
media,
y'all, ideations. Guess what? You're gonna have to pay.
you gotta
Pay.
Don't be afraid to make money on
That's
your
right.
work.
That's right.
Seriously.
All right. Thanks, Kewaan.